Shalom, this is Daniel Stern coming at you from downtown Jerusalem, from the Netivyah Bible Instruction Ministry building. You can see the pastoral background. This is outside our front door. It's nice and green and quiet, and a leaf just fell on me, just to show that autumn is here. And I'd like to talk with you today about two or three things. I say two or three because two of the subjects relate to each other quite strongly. The first one is completely unrelated to the other two. Well, I mean, obviously it's related because everything is related somehow, but I want to talk about what happened in Amsterdam over the weekend. So some of you may be aware, some of you may not be, but there was a soccer game between the Israeli team Maccabi Tel Aviv and the Dutch team, Amsterdam team Ajax, which, by the way, the team itself is very pro-Israel, and in the past, during its games, Israeli flags would be waved by the audience, even though the game itself had nothing to do with Israel. The team is, for whatever reason, feels a kinship with Israel. But here's what happened. After the game, very well organized groups of fundamental, anti-Semite, radical, extreme Muslims spread themselves out in the neighborhoods around the stadium, and with their goal to catch, to attack, to run over with vehicles, to stab with knives, and even to kidnap Israelis. I'm talking about dozens and hundreds of Muslim extremists whose only goal was to conduct a pogrom against Jews because they are Jews. So this happened. It's unbelievable to think that in 2024 such a thing would happen, but dozens and hundreds of Muslim extremists attacked Jews, soccer fans, and the police was nowhere in sight and didn't show up for a very long time. As a result, many Jews were injured, many contact with them was lost for a period of time, and the Dutch government is claiming that they didn't know anything about it. The Israeli government or security forces here say that they sent warnings to the Dutch that this would happen. Israeli foreign minister, Israeli prime minister, Israeli president, and so on were in contact with their counterparts. The Israeli airlines sent about 8 flights to retrieve the fans of the soccer game to return to Israel even over the weekend. Usually Israeli airlines don't fly on the Saturday, on the Shabbat, but they got a special permit from the rabbis to do so because, as we all know, saving lives trumps the Shabbat's day of rest. So 8 flights, I believe, were sent out to retrieve these soccer fans. It's worth noting that while the Dutch government and Dutch authorities didn't do much at the time and also afterwards, my understanding is that no one was arrested and about 40 Muslims extremists received some sort of fine, which seems quite non-lackluster. The Dutch politician Geert Wilders, who is extremely anti-Muslim, extremely anti-immigration from Africa and from the Middle East to the Netherlands, and is extremely pro-Israel, had to say that for the last 10 years the ruling party had turned a blind eye to Islam extremism and to immigration and its effects, and that Amsterdam has become like Gaza and that they need to start doing something about it. We'll see. The Dutch king said that during the Holocaust, the Netherlands failed the Jewish people, and in this event, the Netherlands failed once again. We'll see what happens, but obviously the world condemned it. It's terrible, it's horrible. Of course, our friend, the Secretary General of the UN, who's a very, very known anti-Semite, friends with Yasser Arafat and so on, his announcement was that he denounces all forms of anti-Semitism and all forms of Islamophobia in an attempt to equalize between what happened to the Jews, this pogrom, and people not liking Muslims because they are possibly a very, very warlike religion, and whenever they come to a country, they basically try to change it in order to be more similar to the place they left because it was not good for them, so they're trying to turn all the nice, wonderful Western democracies that they come to into horrible places that I won't expand on, but in any case. And he does the same when it comes to the Israel-Palestinian conflicts. He tries to equalize between a couple of 15-year-olds throwing rocks at Arabs to October 7 rape and murder and kidnapping of hundreds and thousands of people. He's known for that crap. But you know what? We have to survive him until the next one is elected, and hopefully the next one will not be a flaming anti-Semite. But anyways, so this is what happened in Amsterdam. Hopefully it will not happen again. Moving on to the next thing. The second thing that I want to talk about is, well, we can talk about it, we can call it the Donald Trump effect. You know, as soon as Donald Trump's election victory was clear, a whole bunch of things started happening. For example, the Iranians released an announcement that they are going to reconsider their response to the Israeli attacks. And the United States and the United Kingdom have upped their attacks on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. They attacked the capital city of Sana'a. And additionally, Israel is now looking to bring about a cessation of the hostilities in the north. Recently, one of the cabinet ministers, Ron Dermer, just traveled to Russia to speak with the Russians about how there can be some sort of truce, temporary truce in the north with Hezbollah, with Lebanon. And more changes. Obviously, all of these reports take with a grain of salt because there's a lot of reports going on right now that are pushed ahead that Donald Trump is going to make it very hard for the British with tariffs, and that the EU is going to pay for something or another. There's a lot of hyperbole, a lot of excitement, a lot of reports. So take them all with a grain of salt. But it feels that there's really a change in the works, that just the fact that Donald Trump was elected and that in January he'll start a 4-year term is causing a lot of countries, be it Lebanon, be it the Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen, Israel, Iran, to change their direction. And this brings us to the third thing that I want to talk about, which is very strongly related to the second. The UN is about to release the WHO, the World Health Organization, is about to release a report that will relate to the situation in Gaza regarding malnourishment, hunger, and we've seen in the past that all of their reports are usually based on the Hamas-run Gaza Health Organization and other biased NGOs, and that their information is not only lacking, but is also one-sided and biased, so that after they put out a report, then later, a week, a month, 2 months later, it's clear that the report was very unfounded. And they themselves have stated consistently that the situation, the nourishment situation in Gaza is getting better and better. And this is true even in their October spokespeople reports. But in any case, there is a larger report that's due out that's supposed to, that many assume will say that there is a very difficult situation in Gaza, which I'm sure there is, and that the hunger there is deteriorating, the situation is getting worse, which I'm not sure is happening, and the consequences of this report are based on mainstream legacy media, which I don't entirely trust, hence grain of salt with everything, will be that the U.S. will put a weapons embargo on Israel and will vote against Israel in the United Nations, which wouldn't be a huge surprise considering in 2016 when Barack Obama was finished his term and Donald Trump won the election against Hillary Clinton, then Barack Obama did the same thing to Israel. And in the last 2 months of his time in office, the United States voted against Israel. It was kind of a poke in the eye or a bit of a, gotcha against Israel. And there is a concern that Joe Biden will do the same, especially after this report, especially as in the last few weeks the United States high-ranking officials have been saying to Israel over and over that they have to improve the humanitarian situation, which of course I personally disagree with because we are at war and there is no legitimate reason and no case in history of an opposing side providing for their enemies during a conflict. But putting that aside, this report, which will no doubt be with partial information given by biased sides, could indicate that the situation is getting worse and consequently lead to U.S. weapons embargoes and votes in the UN against us, which is part of the reason that Israel seems to want to, at least for a time, look into ending the hostilities until Donald Trump comes in. And I want to point out that this embargo is going on currently, as we speak. It's not always discussed, but for example, a purchase of 134 D9 tractors, bulldozers, which are used by the military to clear the land as needed, has been stalled for months, waiting for State Department approvals from the Caterpillar company in the U.S. So that is just one example. Many other, the JDAMs half a year ago were blocked. That's a component that allows dumb ammunition to become smart, consequently to hit their targets better and have less collateral damage. For reasons beyond logic, those were stopped as well. Apparently the U.S. wants a lot of collateral damage. I don't know. You can decide for yourself. So those are the three things that I wanted to talk about today. The first is what happened in Amsterdam. The second is the immediate change in the geopolitics of the area as a result of the Donald Trump election. And the third is the hidden embargo and possible cessation of hostilities for a time as a result of this lame duck period, the last 2 months of Joe Biden's term. And as always, I want to remind you that there is a war still going on. We are helping troops on a daily basis. Today I spoke with a major from an intelligence unit that was asking for gun handles for his unit. And that's just an example. It's still the morning here. It's still early. And already I spoke to one. And I have, as of yet, an unread request from another sergeant for gear. I haven't yet opened it. But there's always requests, and I would like you guys to consider prayerfully supporting this effort, this project, this stand. Israel and the IDF are standing in the gap, fighting the fight against evil, fighting for democracy, for the West, for civilization, against evil extremism. And you guys can help. You can pray, you can share, you can do lots of stuff, and I want you to do so. And of course, as always, if I've made a mistake that you feel is important to correct, please write so in the comments. I want to know when I've messed up so that I can correct it, or just educate myself. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.